The drone family is growing. We've definitely had to get creative with the naming. What we're trying to do is, like, as our drone family is the most popular models that we have in our lineup, high performance models that is, we want to be able to offer different spec for different needs or different purposes for certain boulder problems or sport climbs or whatever, and without changing the fit too much. So if you wanted a drone with super downturn, super stiffness, you have a model here. And if you want something a little softer, or even with a different rubber, different toe profile, we have that option now too. And it's probably gonna keep growing. We'll probably have a drone slipper that's super soft, let's say, or a drone lace-up model that's great for edging, great for adjustability on the fit, on the midfoot. So yeah, we want to be able to give that customer the ability to maybe just switch from within the family, kind of know their sizing, and kind of know the fit already without having to guess too much. The last is a big indicator of how the shoe will fit, how it will function. There are different lasts, but they do fit very similarly. What we're trying to do with these is like give them different performance features or different toe profiles or downturn, that kind of thing. So even with these three shoes, they don't fit quite exactly the same between the three. The Drone 2 and the Drone D2-1 is going to be a similar fit and sizing, but we found that the CS, because we tension the shoe even more for competition, because it is a competition model, that some people have been upsizing a half. That's been a challenge because we're trying to add different features, and people, they go into this shoe thinking that it should feel and fit like it's just a different color drone. It's not, and you should be expecting something different, and they want that CS to feel like the twos. So they're like, oh, if I go half size up, it feels like the twos. You should go with the same size and you get a different performance fit and feel. We don't want it to be just a color change. We want there to be a clear difference in function for these shoes. So you should be able to pull out one drone for one situation and another for another. So I would say the Drone 2 is the most aggressive of the bunch. This has the most stiffest toe box mold, thickest toe upper, thickest sole rubber. They're not separate parts, but I'm describing it as the location of these pieces. I'm gonna say it's the most concave shape. It has the most defined edge, almost a 90-degree edge, and we're able to mold that in there. Obviously, good for edging, great support, front pointing, grabbing and pulling. I would say this is probably the most aggressive out of the bunch, like in terms of stiffness and downturn. We go into the CS. This is a completely new toe box mold. We do use different molds for different shoe types. This one, you could see that the valleys of these hexagon designs are a little bit less. There's more rubber there, so more structure. Overall, this shoe is thinner. It has a thinner part, and it uses a softer rubber. So overall, this toe mold and the heel mold uses our XF rubber, which has a shore hardness of 65 to 70. Which is way less than our science fiction rubber, which is around 75. Similar, fit, similar last, but also it's not as downturned. And this is the first one where we started to go a little bit more anatomically correct. We account for the ball of the foot, the little gap, behind those toes when you curl them up. It's similar fit, but it's not going to fit and feel the same. And obviously the rubber is different, so it's going to perform differently on those. And then we go to the D2-1. So this is our latest model to launch in the drone family. We've taken all the feedback from the Drone 2 and the Drone CS. We've kind of made, let's say, a hybrid of the two. This uses the Drone CS toe molds, but we're using two different rubbers on one molded part. So we're using the Drone CS upper XF rubber part, and then for the outsole, we're using the Science Friction from the Drone 2. So we're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Being able to edge well, toe hooking is going to be sticky. It's going to be more comfortable, flexible, I would say more accessible in terms of fit and function. The heel is science friction. People did like the fact that the performance of the harder heel was working better than the softer heel, especially outside on aggressive heel hooks. The fit is different as well because the rubber has changed. It isn't as anatomically correct as this one. We tried to make this more like the original drone. Obviously, there was a lot of loyal fans, and we wanted to make sure that we can kind of emulate that fit and function of the original drone. So this probably is the closest thing to that right now at the moment. The other big differences are the midsoles. The Drone 2 uses a polycarbonate midsole that's quite large. It is downturn. It's got the concave sole. It does connect the tip of the toe to the heel mold, so it does go pretty far down to the back of the heel. The CS has a half midsole. It doesn't go full to the back of the heel. It's this shape, this size. It's not as downturned, but it is concave and accounts for, your ball of your foot, the toes, the curling. And then you go to the D21. Very, very minimal. This is a different material than the polycarbonate. This is compressed polyester. So a little bit of a horseshoe midsole here where we retain like flexibility in the center. You do get good edging properties like when you first get the shoes. Over time, compressed polyester does break down, so you're going to get that flexibility over time. A little bit more versatile than the other two shoes. All of these drone models have HV and LV. HV meaning high volume, LV meaning low volume. We wanted to make sure that we had the biggest, widest range of fit possible. We want to make sure that if you are an LV in one drone model, you should be LV in all the other models. I would say typically our LV models are the most lowest volume models out there on the market. So I know a lot of people think they're LV, but maybe they're not. They're probably HV. I'm gonna say our HVs though, in the drone family especially, probably more of an average fit. We do have other models with the HV badge on it, but it is a different last and it is a different family, so it may fit wider than the drone HVs. Within the family, we're trying to, make a distinction like this is for HV feet, LV feet, but once you leave the family to another shoe model, it's going to have a completely different range of fit. I think most people are going with their street shoe sizing for I would say an uncomfortable fit. Your toes are at the end. It feels pretty uncomfortable and snug. I would say like people who are used to tight fitting climbing shoes are able to go half size down for like a performance fit. Our athletes, however, have been going a full size down, and some athletes go a full size and a half, which is pretty aggressive. I don't recommend that for everyone, but typically start with your street shoe, half size down for performance, and that usually takes care of everyone that's out there. Minimal stretch on all these models because these are synthetic. It is a stretch fabric, but it does have memory, so it's going to try to bounce back to its original shape. Rubber doesn't stretch too much at all. It'll kind of like form and mold around the shape that it's that's covering. At the most, quarter of a size stretch, or let's say more of a relaxation or a molding of the shoe happens around your foot. Typically with synthetic shoes, all covered in so much rubber and connected rubber from heel to toe, it's not going to stretch out too much. There are really good resolers out there that could do a good job. It is going to be difficult to get the exact same fit if you do take this to a resoler. So when you get those resoled at a place with the generic last, it's going to try to form to that last. That's why last is so important. It is technically possible to do this, to replace a toe mold. But what they're typically going to do is they're going to grind off the areas that need resoling and then just glue on sheets of rubber and then grind and shape that to kind of fit. And we've had a lot of resolers do them already, and they purchase our rubber, and you can get our science friction and XF rubber back on these shoes, but it probably won't ever retain the exact same fit as before. I mean, locally in Southern California, Positive Resoles has done a great job. They do stock our rubber. They've been resoling for, I believe, decades. And then V12 Resole up in the Bay Area for us. They're taking orders not just from the Bay Area, but you can have them shipped there. I think it's 1 week turnaround, which is ridiculously fast. They do stock our rubber, and I believe they do have some of our generic lasts, so they're going to be a good choice. But for us, like our philosophy always been is to provide the most value, the most innovation for a lower price. That's just the philosophy from our founder. Molding technology is one of the key pieces of technology we can use to reduce that cost. When you have a shoe, this is a broken apart D21, the 3D molded toe box, 3D molded heel cup, the midsole, and the one piece of old technology we still use is the heel ran for the tensioning for the back of the shoes. So if you count this 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's say 5 big fifth piece, that's way less than other climbing shoes and how they're made. There's a lot of like hand pulling, hammering, maybe some waste because you are cutting out the rubber and you might have some excess that you're going to throw away. That's actually cost. You're still paying for that cost. There's not loss of that material with molding as much. You might have, you can see here a little bit of excess that, I don't know, if you can see that, that's kind of the waste that happens, and that gets thrown away, but not as much as like sheet rubber that gets cut out of a pattern. It takes less time to put this together because it's less parts. So all those can have some savings. We also produce our own rubber. We also produce almost all of the materials that you see on the table here in-house. So we're not having to pay for licensing fees, ship them worldwide to get into an assembly factory. We kind of do most all things in one factory that's ours. I mean, obviously we're not making shoelaces or Velcro. We are purchasing those parts, but for most of the shoes, like everything's pretty much made in-house. You can achieve some of the similar things that we're doing with our tech, with this old tech, but there's a lot more waste if you do it that way. They're gonna have to cut this heel round into 3 pieces, pull them 3 different ways, or make not so friendly patterns for, for waste. So they're gonna have a lot more waste if they're gonna try to pull it in different directions with one piece of material. They're gonna have to laser etch instead of mold. Laser, you get charged by the second that it's on. It's not an eco-friendly way to do things. It takes more time, more labor, more energy to, let's say, do laser etching. So we've done that in the past. We've explored the maximum capacity of that technology, and we're ready to move to a new technology, which is molding. Some of the first molded shoes that we made are clunky, thick, not the right shape, didn't feel like a glove for sure. But we're learning. I think we already have in some of the shoes we have in our lineup. We're gonna get to the same feel, like that glove-like fit, like we do with the old tech. But now with this new molding technology, I think we can go past that, past the limitations that this has. The other brands are like really exploring how to maximize this technology here, the old stuff, but there's a limit, and we want to look past that for sure. They are all available now. Drone 2 is $149. The Drone CS is $159, and the D21 stayed at $149 from last year. Pretty affordable high performance shoes. Typically equivalent categories are going to be above $200. So you're getting all this new tech, great durability, $60, $70, sometimes $80 cheaper than the other competitive brands out there.